Welcome to the How to Heal podcast, the show where we explore real life stories and practical tools to thrive. I'm your host, Lindsay Trimarchi Richter, and through over a 15-year journey of all things healing, I'm here to hook it up. If you're feeling overwhelmed, looking for a deeper connection, or straight up in a psycho-spiritual crisis, I got you covered. Let's unearth your unique elixir to purpose, peace, and progress. Here we go. Hi, welcome to the How to Heal podcast. I'm Lindsay Trimarchi Richter. And on this snowy morning in New York, we are talking about where boundaries meet negotiation, meet patience. And for those of you who've been following me, you know I sort of have a spiritual lens on everything that I'm talking about here. But where my perspective differs is I do not believe the correct decision is to just follow your heart and follow the instinct. And it's not how things are built. It's not how wealth is built and stability and groundedness. Before I get into this, I wanted to talk about a story. The guy that I was working with referred to me as the third little pig, which was a little sensitive to begin with, but I forgive him. But that the third little pig built his house of bricks. And he built it so it wasn't going to fall down. And he put the work in, and he didn't play right away. He made sure that this foundation was solid and that it was not wavering. And that is what this episode is about today. So a lot of the spiritual community will tell you, oh, just, leave the job, burn it all down, start over, fly to Bali, follow your heart. Many times that's candidly just not the right move. And yeah, I know that a lot of people create beautiful lives sooner rather than later. And yes, there are people that have burned their life down and walked away. But I'm going to tell you something that no one else is telling you or saying who have been in those circumstances. Those people still feel regret. Those people made a move a little early and have a emotion sort of lingering there that they didn't resolve it properly. I know that because I've been in that situation. I've burned it all down. I've walked away. But as I got older, I realized we have a reality to integrate into and from. There is a reality around us that requires stability, that requires strategy, that requires sound decisions, that requires the hard work. And burning it all down is not always the answer. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about where those boundaries meet the negotiation, meet the patience, so that you can make sound, well-informed, heart-centered, lasting decisions. So let's start from the back, the patience portion. When we talk about patience, there's a difference between patience being innocent and curious. And I think a lot of times we forget that we have to maintain the boundaries during the patience period. We kind of get aloof. We kind of get, oh, this person's got my best interest at heart. Yeah, something came up earlier that it was a red flag, but I'm still here. So I'm just going to ride it out. And we're having a good time and getting the benefit of the doubt. They have my best interest at heart. This is the part where patience is active. It is not passive. So I'm not saying that you can't enjoy the moment of having fun with this person and having the best intentions for you guys together and all of these things, or it being even a situational. Let's take it as a job, having patience and knowing that maybe the next right job, career opportunity, move, period, is coming for you. Having that patience boundaried with curiosity and not innocence, not just, oh, well, let it go. I'll forget, I forget. It's kind of like when you smoke weed and you're like, you forget the task at hand. Like that's the exact feeling. We can't be aloof in the patience portion of where it meets the boundaries and the negotiation. Curiosity is engaged. It is observant and it is boundaried. So that's how you should be patiently waiting. You're on the clock, is essentially what it is. We're not just clocking out. And when you think about the curiosity portion, you want to have your end goal in mind. You want to say, like, these are my expectations. These are my values. These are my goals. No, I'm not ready to just bounce from the job, bounce from the relationship, whatever. But these are my long-term goals. And that's what we're working towards. We're holding a reverence for the situation that we're currently in to give it a chance to catch up. It applies everywhere. It applies socially. It applies emotionally. And it applies professionally. By the way, I'm not shaming innocence. I think innocence is where playfulness really comes in. You can't really have playfulness if you're not embodying innocence. So I'm not shaming innocence, but I'm informing innocence. I think as we get older, it's like, oh, I lost my innocence then. And it's like, no, we always have access to the innocence that lives within us. We always have access to the innocence that lives within us. It's not, it disappeared. And like, that's a decision. That is straight up a decision. So know that, me as a 43-year-old woman, I'm not innocent without boundaries, but I can have playfulness in my life. I can bring joy into my life. I can exude that playfulness that really resonates on a pure level. But I'm watching behind my back and I'm also watching forward because I'm protecting my energy. So when we talk about boundaries, and I posted an episode on boundaries where I mentioned that boundaries, the most important boundary you will ever have is the boundaries with yourself. Knowing what is acceptable and knowing what is deterring you from your values and your goals. Yes, of course, there are boundaries with people that are disrespecting you, draining you, not reciprocating in relationships, of course. And I think that that's where a lot of the boundary conversation comes in. Have boundaries at work, have boundaries in your social life. Don't let people walk all over you. Yes. It may start externally, but the real work is internal. The lasting boundaries of this is acceptable, this is not, is done on an internal level where you recognize the feeling of this feels good, this feels expansive, this feels draining, this feels constricting, and distinguishing between those two feelings. Because essentially your external boundaries will collapse if your internal boundaries are not fully defined and honored. And when we talk about boundaries, and we go into the last portion for negotiating, this is where the grace comes in for our circumstances in 3D, in the real world. We have responsibilities, we have family, we have a job, we have to pay the rent, we have to feed ourselves, we have to, all the responsibilities that we have. This is where we start to negotiate on our boundaries a little bit. And guess what? It's okay. It's totally okay. Because as I mentioned, this is where the patience comes in, and this is where the active curiosity is driving decision after decision after decision. I did an episode on negotiation. It's an episode that I posted a while back. I took a negotiation course at Harvard for a week, and one of my old companies put us up in Boston, and we went to Harvard. It was so awesome. And the way that I framed the negotiation portion is really from an energetic standpoint. A lot of times you can go into a negotiation and you can feel like, I already won the negotiation. Like, it's mine. It does exist where your energy, the energy that you bring into the negotiation, is going to be a win-win for all, no matter what, depending on where the person is, depending on how your energy is engaging with the person with you. But that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about the negotiation you have with yourself on the boundaries that you're set for yourself. Because at that point, the negotiation becomes a conscious engagement with reality. We often have this ideal version of what our life should look like. And I mentioned this, we already live in constraints. We live in constraints of where we can be. Yeah, do I want to go and do I want to go to Bali or India and get my yoga certificate? Like, all of the things that I didn't do, do I want to go do? Yeah, I do. Is my heart really calling for me to do it? Yeah, but my heart is also here with my family, with my girls. Like, that's not happening for a long time. And that's okay. That's life. To think that that doesn't exist is privilege. That's what that's called, privilege. To burn it all down, to be like, I'm just going to go do this and neglect my responsibilities. That's privilege. That's easy. That misses the work, that misses the integration work that needs to happen at the level that we're at right now. We're bypassing. We're like turning the game off, and it's like when you're like skipping levels in a game, in a video game. When we define our values, we are driven by what is negotiable and what is not. So when you have, and I think I mentioned this on Instagram, there is an astrologer named Colin, at Queer Cosmos is his handle. And he talks about having values in terms of astrology, and looking at your zodiac, looking at your chart and seeing where you naturally excel and where you sort of have underlying struggles. And where the underlying struggles lie is where your values should lie. It's not the things that come easy to you. It's not the things that like you value so much and oh, you're going to do that and you've done it forever and you're really good at it. It's the things that are driving you to feel an internal discord. That is where your values should be defined. And over time, as your self-trust strengthens, you start to negotiate less on what really matters because you're already implementing it. You know what's important. You know you're negotiating here, you're giving a little here because you see the bigger picture. And you're living in integrity and you're taking care of your responsibilities. As that self-trust and responsibility and living in values moves on and you grow within that, the tolerance for misalignment really starts to decline. It becomes very obvious to how I show up this way. I'm not accepting anything less than how I show up. And you get strong. And that's how you get strong. You don't get strong by burning it all down to the ground. You get strong by making informed decisions aligned with your values, for your bigger picture, and for your obligations. That's how you get strong. And making the right decisions after again and again and again. And it just brings us back to patience again. This is the part that is the most informed. Patience is not passive, it's active. And when you have patience for the moments that you're living through that don't feel aligned, and you have the boundaries around your values, and you're in that negotiation dance of waiting, and you're going from A to Z, and you're taking each step, each outcome is not final. They are incremental and informing. So by the time you get to Z, you're like, this is inevitable. This is grounded. I have the foundation to support this. There is no other way. This is the way forward. And we don't know what that looks like. We may have a hint. We may have like an instinct of, this is going to end, or this is, but we don't know how. And if we cut it at the legs and we cut it short, we're missing out on all the riches that lie within the circumstance that we worked so hard to get to and build. And we deny ourselves the learning experience within that lesson. And one last thing that I want to talk about is just this idea that there is grace. There is grace that supports us. There are unseen forces around us that we do not know are cheering us on, whether they're people, whether it's things that we've done in the past that have created a ripple effect that are good, whether it's our deceased ones on the other side, or whether it's just a convergence of energy that we put out into the world that we may not realize or be currently living, but it's working on our side to support our highest and best intentions. So things may happen quicker than you think they're going to happen. And give the universe the benefit of the doubt. You never know who's working on your side. So through this lesson, I want you to stay open-hearted. I want you to stay curious, and I want you to stay present to your obligations, to the moment, to the current circumstances that you're in. Have grace for yourself. Know that your vision, if it's defined by values that are really supporting you, you will get there. You don't need to burn it all down to have inner alignment, because the fact is that inner alignment is kind of a little bit of a myth in the fact that there's always going to be something to work on. And there's always going to be feelings of, I want more, I feel lack, because we're human. But we can really sharpen our tools. We can get the competitive edge in this idea of, I'm living a life that I'm proud of, instead of I'm living a life that I have to live. So that's the lesson for today. And this is the kind of work that I work on deeply in my private containers with clients. We identify boundaries, we navigate transitions, and we move forward without forcing timelines or outcomes. So if that's for you, you'll find it when the timing is right. And I love you so much. Have a great week.